I've never really stopped to think about my mental health until I literally just crashed and burned.
Hello and welcome back to the Career Flipper podcast, your permission slip to flip your career, reimagine work, life, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jenny Dempsey, furniture flipper, career change coach, and a customer experience day job worker while wearing the title of slightly unhinged cheerleader for figuring it the heck out right alongside you. This podcast was born after I got laid off from my startup tech job back in 2022 and spiraled into full-blown, what am I even doing with my life mode? I can't find another job. Who am I without work? I was firing off resumes and cover letters that I spent way too much time customizing, only to get rejections and, well, lots of ghostings back. And then one day, I found a junky coffee table in my friend's basement, and honestly, I felt like how it looked. I didn't have a plan, I didn't know how to use power tools, and I definitely didn't know there were different kinds of wood stain. But I got curious, I started asking questions, and I flipped that coffee table. And somewhere between sanding and sealing, I realized I wasn't just giving that furniture a second chance. I was giving myself one. Now, this show is my love letter to reinvention. Each week, I sit down with people from around the world who flip their careers, and sometimes on purpose, sometimes by total accident, and they're here to share the real stories behind the flips. In today's episode, you'll meet Wendy and Elizabeth Pochop of Baltimore, Maryland. They are sisters, roommates, travel buddies, and the co-founders of Untethered Voyages. What makes their story so powerful is that it's not just some polished, we quit our jobs and went all in fairy tale. Right now, this is still their side hustle. Elizabeth is a teacher. Wendy is navigating her next career step in tech. And in between lesson plans, job searches, and everyday life, they're carving out time to build something they're really excited about. You'll hear how they set boundaries, divide responsibilities, and keep each other accountable so the dream just doesn't stay a dream. You'll also hear how burnout and a sabbatical cracked open the door to curiosity and how that small spark slowly turned into a business idea. So if you're listening on your lunch break, stuck in traffic on the way home, or I don't know, squeezing in this podcast while folding laundry, this conversation is for you. It's proof you don't have to burn everything down to start something new. You can take small steps, build alongside your full-time job, and figure it out as you go. So if you're craving a career change, a mindset reset, or just a flicker of hope that your next chapter is out there waiting, hey, this is your sign. Hit follow, subscribe. Let's dive into the episode now. I can't wait anymore. So, while Support Driven is not sponsoring this episode, I want to say thank you to Support Driven for bringing us together. I am here with Wendy and Elizabeth because we connected through Support Driven. And so welcome to the Career Flipper, friends.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, Support Driven, for anyone listening, it's a global customer service community where people who are like actually on the front lines, answering the chat supports and the phone calls and all that stuff, can talk and Slack and vent and cry and generate ideas. And like there was a post about, like, you posted a job, Wendy, and then you mentioned something about a side hustle, and I was like, wait a second, I need to talk to her. So I slid into your DMs, and here we are.
Happy to be here.
I love it. Well, enough of me rambling on. I would love it if you both introduce yourselves and share what you're doing right now.
Okay, great. We're pretty good at talking over each other, so hopefully we'll be able to
make
sure we don't do a lot of that. But I'll go first. I'm Wendy, and I actually am a co-founder of a side hustle that makes cruise retreats for leaders that are doing educational retreats or want to get their groups together for celebration retreats or other kind of events. And Elizabeth is my co-founder, but my background really is in customer success and customer experience. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've held pretty much every post-sales role that you can imagine. I started as an instructional designer, moved into technical writing, moved into product training, moved into account management. When customer success became a thing, I moved into customer success. I've run professional services teams and customer success teams. And my passion really is with seed and Series A startups and building teams from scratch. I'm a builder. And so one of the things that I really love about Untethered Voyages is that we have this opportunity, sisters and travelers, to build this thing together that sort of focuses on something that we're really passionate and excited about for ourselves, and being able to introduce that to people that want to build their communities in person while having adventures kind of around the world.
Love that.
And I'm Elizabeth. I am the other co-founder of Untethered Voyages, our side hustle. And Wendy and I decided to start this about a year ago. We are really excited to help people get onto cruise ships and discover the joy of cruising while doing everything else that we do. So my background is honestly, my background is kind of all over the place. I started working in a college in a financial aid department, and then I was a nanny for a while. And then the main portion of my background is an executive assistant. So I was an executive assistant for 10 years and really worked with running some events for companies there. And that's where my passion for events is really come from and is really shining in this new business. And then about 4 years ago now, I decided to become a teacher. So I am now a teacher. I taught second grade for a couple of years, and I currently teach pre-K.
Wow, lots of flipping going on in your current path.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's so cool how you both have these very, unique independent career paths of one another, but yet you came together to create this, what we call right now, side business, which maybe one day will be more, and we'll talk more about that. But, to kind of do bring people into the world of cruising, because I feel like that is something also, I don't know too much about that, but like the way that you do it and the way you show up to bring people in with leaders and education and the things around that, it's just so interesting, and just makes me wonder how you even got to this point. Like, how did this begin? Because a lot of people listening could also have, whether they flipped their careers in the past or they've worked the same role for many, many years, they might have this like little nudge in the back of their mind of like, ooh, you should start this, or ooh, you love this, or maybe you'd want to do this, or is there anything else out there for me besides this desk job that's killing my soul? Like, there's so many things, but a lot of people are afraid to even start. And I'm curious, how did this all happen? Where does this originate, Wendy, Elizabeth? Like, how'd you get here?
So that in itself is a story. It wasn't like we woke up one day and said, hey, do you wanna? I mentioned before that I have been building customer success and customer experience teams for a long time. Right before the pandemic, I took a role that wasn't so much a builder job. It was more of a fixer role, which I have since discovered I'm not a fixer. But it was at a healthcare company when the pandemic hit about 6 weeks into my role. So on top of software that had a lot of tech debt and was already, sort of experiencing a huge surge in technical bugs, we also then had to support doctors and clinics through the pandemic. And I burned out about 2 years into that role. I tell everyone my role really was just like chief complaint officer. People would find me on LinkedIn and call me at like 4 a.m. on a Saturday just to let me know how unhappy they were. People would call me and let me know that they were considering bankruptcy because they, due to some issues that they were having with their software, they weren't able to pay their bills. And anybody that's been in a support role knows that you have to be really empathetic, that there's not a lot you can do to fix the problem. You have to partner with other teams. And just because, again, of the sort of extent of what was going on with the software, we weren't fixing things quickly enough to keep our customers happy. And so, I was working remotely. I was in my basement all by myself, trying to, sort of get myself through it. I had a manager who was more interested in sales than he was in supporting our customers. So I wasn't very supported. And I just knew it was time for me to maybe like take a break and do something. So I decided to take a sabbatical and take some time for myself and sort of get through the PTSD that I had, sort of gotten over the few years that I'd been there. And so when it was time to come back into the work world, I've always been a traveler. I've always been passionate about traveling, and Elizabeth has always been my travel partner. So we've gone all over the world together. So I said, okay, well, I'm really passionate about travel. I'm passionate about hospitality. I want to be in that space in the tech world. And about the time that I came back from my sabbatical was about the time that ZERP ended and customer success was sort of being questioned across the industry, and jobs were not as plentiful as they were when I left. And so I said, okay, well, how can I make myself a stronger candidate when I'm going into pitching myself for these roles? And so I decided to get a travel certificate or some sort of travel advisor certification so that I could increase my knowledge in the industry. So I went through a program through a company called Careers on Vacation. And part of learning how to be a travel advisor was also learning how to create a travel business. And so way back then, multiple years ago, the business that I was creating was a retreats business. And it was something that I'm not great at managing myself. I need to be accountable to someone else. So I've never been a great solopreneur or somebody that can just run a business on my own. So even as I was going through that, my goal was to get a job in the travel industry, travel tech industry, or hospitality tech industry. And, it just didn't happen. I've been trying for a while. I'm still trying. I would love to, I still am passionate about startup tech. And so I'm still trying to find my way back there. But in the meantime, I just started doing travel for friends and family and saying, hey, can I book you a trip? And then Elizabeth and I went on a family trip together for our parents' 50th anniversary. They took us all on a cruise ship in Mexico. There were 23 or 25 of us, 4 generations. And a lot of the family had never been on a cruise. We've been on a few. We love them. We think they're such a great way to travel because you can unpack once and kind of see a lot of different places. It's all inclusive. The food is covered. The, entertainment is covered. So as we were sort of talking through that, we were like, hey, what if we looked into somehow doing something on cruise ships? And so over the course of the last year, this thing has evolved a few times. We started out thinking that we wanted to do workations on cruise ships. So meaning anybody that was working remotely that wanted to pack up and work from a cruise ship, we would sort of help facilitate that. But as we started doing market research, people weren't so much interested in the idea of remotely working from a cruise ship. They were more interested in finding community with other people that had the same passions and things that they did. So then we sort of iterated on that. We found a really great marketing coach locally who sat with us and said, what are you really trying to do? What are you really trying to deliver? And so we were like, well, group experiences that build community. And then we sort of iterated down a little bit more on that and got to this point where we are today, which is events and retreats for folks that want to stand out from the crowd and give their community, their team, or their clients a really unique way to get together and see the world and do, experiences and have experiences that you can't really have in a land-based environment for much less money. And so we've really doubled down on this idea over the past, probably 4 or 5 or 6 months. And we're starting to really be able to deliver on that with some associations and communities and coaches that we've met. And we've fallen in love with the idea. And I think it's really starting to catch on. In fact, the software company that I was talking about in Support Driven is doing their very first user conference at sea in September. And so, it was great to see them do something like that and sort of validate our idea. And so that's the really long story about how we got here from my perspective. I don't know, Elizabeth, you want to add anything?
Yeah. I just want to say, when Wendy approached me with this idea of let's do something around cruises, my background with events, really, I felt oh yeah, I could totally see that. And so as we've gone through the iterations, it's been really fun to think about can you take your team on a cruise ship? Yes, take your team on a cruise ship. Can you take your clients on a cruise ship? Yes, take your clients on a cruise ship. All of these different segments work well in a cruise setting. And so having the events background that I have, has really just given us like a really open-mindedness about who we can talk to. And part of the problem we had was like, oh, we want to sell to everybody. Everybody could be on a cruise ship. And then we had to figure out, oh yeah, not everybody, not all the time. So like niching that down and really honing in on who would benefit the most, in our opinions, from being on a cruise ship. And I think that we're in a really sweet spot with who we are talking to, just for the benefits of like getting your group together in a place that's away and unique. And sometimes is cheap, often, usually, almost always is cheaper than a land-based retreat. So it's been really exciting to iterate on that.
Wow. Okay. I have so many questions, because this is just so cool to see how it unfolded in such a very organic way. Like there was something that you two as sisters enjoyed doing together, which was traveling. And I think also, just as a side note, like finding a good travel buddy is so crucial, because you can learn a lot about how someone travels. And so to have that like built in with your sister, I'm like, that's a gift right there. You're so lucky. And so you have this, and you already had some cruises under your belt, and then you organize with your family, and you have this 23 people and your family together on this cruise, and you're together, and you're just like, and then Wendy, you get curious, and you were just like, I'm going to take this certification class. And there's this open door to curiosity after what you had already been through, which you were so burnt out. And then to just kind of take the initiative to take a sabbatical and own that is something that you need. Because I don't want to overlook that. I think it's hard. While such a wonderful thing to do and a gift to be able to do, it's hard to get to that point, especially in the very busy working world of where society is like, you have a job and this is what you do, to be able to take that time off. So maybe we could talk separately about that. But like, you were curious and you took this class, and then together you just started to build this up and really niche down. So the question that I have that I want to kick off with is, you're already working other jobs and you already have a life going on of other things. How did you find the time to even start building this?
So first and foremost, we live together. We're roommates as well as travel buddies. And so, whereas other people may not have the opportunity to just bump into someone in the kitchen, we do.
Yeah.
But I would say my sort of other full-time job right now is a little bit more flexible than Elizabeth's. My other full-time job right now is finding my next sort of technology role. So I'm going to let Elizabeth talk about that, because she has to be in a classroom every day. So she can't just be like, I want to talk about this right this minute.
We are really lucky, number one, that we started our position last June, or our new side hustle last June, because I am a teacher. And so I had June, July, and August to really start to focus on that. Yeah. And that gave us a really good foundation. So being able to focus on that. And then, Wendy still had other things to do, but I had a significant amount of time, and then was able to pull her in. And we just really built a foundation when I had more time. And then over the past 9 months since been back in school, we've really had to figure that out. It's been tricky, because I am in a classroom with 4-year-olds all day long. And I can't just say, hold on, I know we're in the middle of a science lesson, but I've got this thought I've got to think about. So really, we have figured out a couple of things that have helped us. A division of duties has been really important for us. So figuring out who owns what, not both of us trying to do everything, but really like splitting up who's owning what, has given us just the flexibility of time to work when works best for us. And then number two, also just feeling like responsible for your own stuff makes a difference, right? As opposed to, we've both got that, so if I can't do it right now, it's okay. I'm not even going to worry about it. Like feeling responsible is really important. Yeah. The second thing is we started our own Slack channel. And so I think that's been really helpful for us. So we have a Slack channel that we just kind of dump ideas into, put thoughts into. Wendy sometimes goes to a webinar and she'll just put everything that was important from that webinar in there so that I can kind of keep up, even though I'm not actually at the webinar too. If we have thoughts, when the other person's not around, you just kind of dump it in there. And then we have a place where we're in constant communication, even when we're not in the same place. And so those two things have really just been the foundation of how we're able to work together so well, even with the separate responsibilities that we have outside of the side hustle.
Yeah.
Wendy, do you have anything else that you think has been helpful?
I mean, I think you covered it. I would also say that, hiking time on the weekends or when we're out to dinner, like a lot of times will organically cause conversation to happen because, when you step away from your normal environment, a lot of times you get inspired. And so, we've come up with a lot of our best ideas when we're out on a hike, and we just have to remember to just kind of that we come home and deliver on them, and we've also just made a commitment to each other that, while previously weekends were for lounging, now we need to have a little bit more structure and strategy and a plan to get stuff done on the weekend so that nobody feels overwhelmed during the week. And so, we just, we hold each other accountable for that.
Okay, I'm going to derail the entire conversation because I have to let you know about something. After this episode was recorded, Elizabeth and Wendy reached out to me because they wanted to let me know that they're actually hosting a cruise through Alaska in July 2026. Oh my gosh, it sounds like a dream. And they wanted to extend a perk for Career Flipper listeners. Essentially, if you book this cruise, they will waive the planning fee if you enter the code Career Flipper at sign up. If you're curious and want to take a look what this all entails, I'm just looking at it, dreaming about it. Check out untetheredvoyages.com/Alaska. And if you do book it, just enter the code Career Flipper when you sign up because that'll take some cash off this amazing experience for you. And I really hope you go. Okay, back to the conversation now.
I think to just follow up on what Elizabeth said about really understanding our strengths and our responsibilities. I think we've had to sort of figure that out. I've always been in leadership positions, or for the past 10 years, I've been in leadership positions. So I would say I am an idea person, but the beauty is Elizabeth's been an executive assistant for 10 years and she is amazing at execution. And so I think, for a while I was trying to put a lot of that like idea iteration and generation on her. And a few weeks ago, she just said to me, like, I don't want to do that. Stop it.
Give me all your ideas and I will do them.
Just tell me what the plan is, what the vision is, and I will execute it, amazingly. And so I think that took a lot of pressure off of both of us to think that we had to sort of fill every role and try to do everything. And so we have very clear-cut work that we do now. And so I think that's helped a lot too.
Wow. Yeah. Lots of ways to work together smarter, use technology and resources, but also paying attention to the things you actually want to do and how you want to spend your time and still getting out there and doing things to move around and enjoy life while building this together. It sounds like the structure and that accountability is just crucial to this. And I think that that's so important for people listening who are thinking about, well, maybe I could start something, whether it's on their own or with someone else. Like if you don't have the structure, and I will say in very clearly, like same with furniture restoration or even the podcast, like I have it built into my schedule and it is just me doing it at this point, but it's just like having the structure and even my own accountability of like reaching the deadlines that I set for myself is so, so important. And I am really glad you brought that up because it's possible. It's just sometimes you do have to sacrifice a little bit of things in order to make the big things happen in very small stages and steps. And
Saturday morning sleep-ins have gone the way of.
Yeah.
But that's okay because the goal is in a few years, we would love to be on a cruise ship full-time for a year or 3 years doing our job from the place that we're selling and promoting and sharing with people. And so if we have to wake up a little bit earlier now to be able to live a dream life that most
It's a
people
good
won't have the opportunity.
Yes.
We'll do it.
Yes. Oh, totally. Yeah. Every Sunday I work on furniture in the garage. So I'm saying no to Sunday brunch with my girlfriends.
Yeah.
I, don't go out late the night before because I'm like, I know I got to get up and be working in the garage all day. Like there are certain things, but I'm like, I want to have my own workshop one day and my own HGTV show. I got to do these things,
Big dreams. Yes. I love that.
But I think that's an important thing, that the sacrifice doesn't necessarily feel as dreadful. I mean, I don't feel that. And it sounds like you both don't feel that either. It's like, it feels totally worth it and aligned. And I also I do want to pop back to a second to talking about taking the sabbatical, because I think, taking that break from something that's incredibly stressful, especially, a lot of folks listening have those jobs. They're like, I am fried, I am burnt out, or maybe they were laid off, and like jumping right back into the job search too can sometimes be like, especially what you found too, it's a little bit more challenging to find something. I mean, I was right there with you. Like it's really hard and it's really stressful. So what encouraged you to take the sabbatical? Like, how did you do it? How are you okay with making that choice, knowing that it was, a bit of a off the beaten path type of choice?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I probably would not have made it had I not done it. Yeah. Like it was, I was crying at work for hours every day. I was, I just was not in a good place. And so, I was fortunate enough to have, some money saved up. Like definitely make sure that you've prepared for it. And you can't prepare for everything, but, make sure that you've made a plan. Yeah. And then, I would say, you just have to know yourself well enough to know when you've hit your limit, because I have worked in stressful environments my whole life. Startups are not cake. They are not, they're not an environment where you walk in and you have sort of the 5 things on the list that you check off and you go home. I've worked 24 hours in a row before. I've worked, like my whole life has been in startups, and I loved it. Like I'm a builder and I loved that, but there is also, the flip side where when you're in an environment where people are trying to, as everyone always says, like build the rocket ship while you're trying to fly it, it takes the toll on you. And so I would say probably I've never really stopped to think about my mental health until I literally just crashed and burned. And so I would say to anybody that's listening to this, well ahead of when that happens, that you're not in a good place. And do what you need to do to get yourself into a good place before it's kind of too late. Whether that's talking to a mental health professional or, taking advantage of, conversations with people that can sort of give you some coping mechanisms and things. I didn't do that. I just sort of thought like, this is the life I signed up for. And so, whatever, everybody's going through it. Yeah. And so for me, it was a necessity. I wasn't really I don't think I was going to make it otherwise. And then take the time, because, your body needs to heal, your brain needs to heal. You need to get through all of the, like my body was so conditioned to 2 p.m. on Thursdays was when I was supposed to have my meeting with my boss. And I just knew it was going to be horrible. And so my body was conditioned at 2 p.m. on Thursday to like seize up, and I would get headaches, and I would just and it took some time, even after I wasn't working anymore, for that not to be something that I just had a stress response to. So give yourself the time and the space to work through all of it, and then I really did. I went out and looked for a coach and, started to think through like, how can I be spending my time? So I tried to mentor some folks that were in CS and tried to sort of give back in that time, helping look at resumes and help people that were looking for jobs and things, because that was, I think, what I needed to do in that moment. And then again, sort of as it got, 6 to 9 months along, and I started to say, okay, I'm better. What's next? That's when I knew I wanted to do something that I personally just felt really passionate about. Like I've worked in a lot of different industries that have been interesting, but I wouldn't say I'm passionate about fleet management. I wouldn't say I'm, passionate about EHRs. And I wanted to be in a space where I felt passionate about what work I was doing and what kind of impact I was having on the world. So.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think that's like everything that you just mentioned of how sometimes all of that crash and burn happens well before you even know it's going to show up knocking at your door. And it comes as a surprise, but it's really not a surprise. You're like, yeah, I kind of knew this was coming. And also just the way that your body remembers the time. Like when you were saying that, I was like, oh, I can think of things like that in my past career. Like being able to just, okay, it's not happening. We're not having that today. And so I think that those are really important reminders as someone kind of thinks about, well, what does my career path actually look like? Do I want to be having a headache at 2 p.m. every Thursday? Is this how I want to be spending my life? And so you both have created this on the side, but it really sounds like it's not going to be forever on the side. It's going to be something that takes over as the full-time thing. So can you both talk a little bit about what's your vision? Where do you see this going? Where do you want it to go? How do you want this to change your career paths and your lives? I mean, a career flip is really a life flip at the end of the day. And it's like, where do you see this flipping your life?
Yeah, Elizabeth, why don't you take this one?
Oh, yeah, sure. So Wendy touched on it a little bit earlier, but we have big plans. So this is a side hustle right now, and it is something we're really enjoying doing. And we have plans to grow this business into full-time jobs for both of us. And ideally, eventually, we think that this could be done from anywhere. And so we would like to take our passion for travel and go. We'd like to take it on the road. We'd like to do this full time from a cruise ship for a while so that we can, number one, generate content in an easier way. Number two, really have the 100% full on expertise of what it's like to live on a cruise ship and where the best cruise ships for events are and why you would want to be on this specific cruise line as opposed to that cruise line. There's some experience that's required with that. And we have significant cruise experience, but living on a cruise ship would give us just a lot more, Mm-hmm. So that's one goal that we have, to be on a cruise ship full time. Not next year, probably, not the year after, probably, but sometime soon or soon-ish. And then, from there, the world's our oyster. So we'd really love to just go and explore and see and do this full time. We'd like to help people get their groups together. And if we can, try things out and then have that expertise and really give you the joy that comes from that. And as we're talking to you, we really think that will benefit you, knowing that we really are the experts. And knowing that we have lived this and can really show you the way to do it. Yeah. Yeah. You're walking the walk and talking the talk. Like you are doing, you're doing it. And that's incredible. Like traveling everywhere, living on a cruise ship. That's amazing. And you absolutely will do it. And I have a couple things. I'm like, okay, in a couple years, or honestly, even a year, come back on. Let's talk about where this is. And also maybe there's a future career flipper cruise in the works. The community of career flippers. Let's keep this conversation going because I'm it. This sounds amazing. Definitely.
We like to say that right now we're doing this so we can travel, but someday we'll travel because we're doing this. We'll have built the life that we can live and kind of go and do whatever we want to do. So
yes. You took something that you both love to do independently and together, and that you have a lot of knowledge on, and you are creating this whole company based off of it. And it is a lifestyle. It is something that is so near and dear to your hearts, and you're pouring the time and you're making the sacrifices to make it happen. And it's incredible that you're doing that in addition to all the other things that you're doing. Working with children sounds exhausting and you're still finding the time. So here we go. It's proof it can be done.
It can be done.
I'm wondering if both of you might have some insight on this. This is a question for you both. So picture someone right now listening in. They are on their lunch break. They're burnt out at their job. They maybe got 5 minutes to pop away, or they're listening to this in their commute home, and they're just like fried and tense and just irritated with everything and don't like the way their life is. What are some pieces of advice that you both would offer to that person if they're thinking that something needs to change in their career?
I'll start. Find joy somewhere. Your career doesn't have to bring you joy. And if it doesn't, find joy somewhere. And so that doesn't have to be a side hustle or your second job. It can be volunteering. It can be a plan with friends that you have every week. It can be anything, but really finding one space where you can just find the joy translates to the rest of your life. And so if you can find joy somewhere, it's easier to make it through another day of your horrible life frazzling job. That's not the end all be all, but it is perhaps something that can help you get through.
And I would say, everyone always says, like, if you don't like it, change it. Like, it's just something like a shirt that you can just turn around and change. And while I don't think it's that easy, I think take a baby step. Just, again, like maybe it's not going to be your full-time new thing tomorrow, but find a volunteer opportunity that's something that you're passionate about. That's going to spark ideas for maybe how you can turn that into something that maybe is a full-time job down the road, and you'll get some you'll get some joy from it, but also you'll get some experience from it. You'll be able to take that experience and turn that into whatever you want it to be. And so for us, it wasn't like we decided that we were going to be full-time travel advisors tomorrow. Like, this was a long-term plan for us. And so we knew we could probably only dedicate 5 to 10 hours a week on top of everything else that we had going on. And so we just said, like, let's start small. Like, how many retreats can we do? And so, we're boutique right now. We don't take a million clients. We take the clients that align really closely and deeply with the philosophies that we have around community and adventure and things like that. And those are the people that we want to work with and get really good at working with. And so just maybe it's something that you do a few hours a week, and, and then 3 to 4 or 5 years from now, maybe it's your full-time thing.
Yeah.
But don't feel like you have to change everything in your life in 1 minute. That's sometimes just makes it worse.
Yeah, that's so true. Taking the big leap is not always, in most cases, necessary at all. You can start small and at the same time find the joy in the other parts of your life that are present, and you might not be looking at them because you're so clouded with everything else, but they are there.
I do think, just to add one more sort of thought, find a solution that maybe was a solution to your own problem, and start solving that problem for other people, because you're the expert. You know how you fixed it, and you know how you can help other people fix that problem. And, that can be something that's really easy to start doing tomorrow through, coaching or advice or, a service that you can provide to someone, and you can do as little or as much of it as you want. And when you give back to someone else, it links back to joy, right? And I think it brings good karma to you as well. So
true that. I think that's such a great way to put it too. Looking at the problems that you've already solved, and like, what can you do to make that more? And I feel like the only reason this podcast even started was because I was just like, I'm curious and I have questions. And so I'm going to put this out there, and maybe it'll help someone else. And that was really it. Like, that was it. It was just, I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't. And I'm still figuring it out. But talking to wise
for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, you're a great host.
Well, it helps to have wise people like you in my corner. So Wendy, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here, sharing your story of where you're at right this second. I think it's just so important to capture moments like this in time, because, there's these small steps that you're taking. Once we end this podcast, everything, there's going to be more small steps, and they're going to lead to bigger steps and your vision. And knowing that you have this place where you started and you shared it, and it's not all the most, perfect situation. It's like, it's working out exactly, as it needs to right now, because you're putting the time and energy into it. So where can people find you? How can they connect with you? Share all the links and all the places.
Yeah, I think the best place to find us is our website. We're untetheredvoyages.com. And if you're a group organizer, somebody that wants to put a group together, there's a great form. You can fill out a complimentary discovery call where we'll just dig in with you and find out what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. And, then we take it from there. Our joy is to really figure out the best ship, the best itinerary, the best destinations that are going to support the transformation that you're trying to have with your group. But if you're a member of a group and you think, gosh, my group could really benefit from something like this, we also have a referral form on that website where you can introduce us to your group leader, and we'll take the conversation from there and hopefully get your whole group on a ship. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that. That's awesome. Wendy, Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here on the Career Flipper and sharing your stories. This was awesome. This is so awesome to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, Wendy, and Elizabeth on this episode of the Career Flipper podcast. You can find all the links to connect with Wendy and Elizabeth and join the cruise in the show notes. And if this episode helped you feel a little more seen or inspired or honestly validated, because these career flips are no joke and you feel kind of wacky, okay, I'm getting off topic here, but honestly, I'd love it if you subscribed to the podcast, left a review, and honestly shared an episode with a career flipping friend, because this whole thing is way easier or a little less delusional when you know you're not the only one out there doing it. But if you've got a career flip story of your own, or maybe one still unfolding, I would love to hear it. Head over to thecareerflipper.com and share it with me. Who knows? Maybe you'll be a guest on a future episode. And hey, if you're looking for a speaker for your team, event, or community who can just talk about career change in a real, honest, and maybe a little goofy way, I do that. Just send me a message to hello@thecareerflipper.com. More than anything though, I hope that this story reminds you that it's okay to start over, to change your mind, to want something different. The first step that you take toward that can be really freaking scary, but it can also be the most necessary life-changing thing. So take the step, even if it's messy, even if you're scared. What's the best that could happen?